The first undergraduate student is Paiva Mahimur. Her qualification paper is about main features of presenting social life description in English classes and the material of short stories. Scientific advisor is candidate of pedagogical sciences. Cevap mimar kullanmayı.
Good afternoon, my dear teachers and the students. I'm Akbar Mahmoud. My qualification work is main features of presenting social life description in English classes on the material of short stories. And my scientific advisor, Kurbanbay Jabat, Amin Bayevich. As we can see, my qualification work consists of following parts: introduction, 2 chapters, and the conclusion, a list of literature. Now I would like to tell about the actuality of my research work. Investigation expressed by the profound interest in learning of the many features presenting social life, description in English classes on the material Mansfield and the Kahar short stories. As it's known that one of effective methods of teaching is the use of literary texts in lessons of a foreign language. Practically all teachers and the methodologists working with children at different stages and the foreign language assign great place to poetry and prose. The importance of this work cannot be overestimated, and the aim this research work based on the detailed study of the main features of presenting social life description in English classes on the material of Mansfield and Kahar short stories. The reflection of social life of people in literary works, basic concepts of social life in literature. Social life, a broad and narrow perspective. Social life encompasses the life of people and their interaction and the function of society. In a broad sense, it refers to the vital activity of society and its various spheres and practices. In a narrow sense, it focuses on organized system of actions and interactions through social institutions, norms, values, and control. Social life is influenced by geographical environment, natural disasters, and the adaptation to external conditions. Influence of geographical environment on social life. Availability of necessary natural and geographical conditions for successful human development. Environmental factors shape societal rules to prevent threats or neutralize them. Impact of natural disasters on civilizations leading to the loss of customs and traditions. Direct adaptation to the natural and geographical environment in various aspects of life. Influence on occupation, economic activities, housing, and the cultural aspects of society. Fiction as a document. Fiction shares similarities with other textual documents. Some fail to recognize fiction as a document due to outdated ideas, and consider fiction as a literary and artistic document. Fiction reflects authentic moral, psychological, and social values. Characteristics of short stories. Now I would like to tell about short stories require cohesion and preparation of materials. Tension and plot development play crucial roles. Short stories often feature a fantastic moment and may introduce a narrator. Different values exist, including formless and abstract narratives. Evolution of short story genre. Genre can undergo transformations from serious to comic or parodic forms. Local and historical conditions influence genre variations. The American short story genre prominence in 19th century. And short stories provided as a platform for notable American writers and reflected to impetuosity American life. And Catherine Mansfield is one of the English writers who is a famous short stories. And renowned short story published in 1921. Expertly balanced psychological realism and social satire, set in early 20th century and middle class society. Explores and the significant material dynamic protagonist John Hammond, possessive, demanding, and neurotic, depend on wife's affection and care. Incorporates literary criticism and psychoanalytic analysis. Surprising title may have originated from literary source. Incorporates literary. Now I would like to turn next slide. Abdullah Kahar and a prominent Uzbek writer, known for reflective reality of Uzbek society. Notable works Mirage, Pashinar's Fires, and The Bird Nevelichka. Contributes to Uzbek literature, and Kahar internet Uzbek literature as an excellent narrator and an unevaluated master cisgender. And captures the best qualities of the Uzbek people, clear thinking, worldly wisdom, and humor. And Kahar's unique style and the impact, the languages contains filled with aphorisms. Mirage explores important historical periods and showcases artistic thinking. And satirical humor and storytelling demonstrate talent, entertain readers. For example, when I was in practice, I used Kahar's unique style for my pupils as its satirical and humor and storytelling. And there were many different short stories in each topic, and I asked them to firstly read and retell what they understood. And with the help of this style, they improved their speaking. Moving on to our next slide, chapter 2, some ways of developing learners' sociocultural components using social life descriptions in short stories, levels of communicative competence. A1 level, communicative survival, basic understanding and simple phrases. A2, subthreshold level, ability to observe socio-cultural context. B1, threshold level, basic interpreter of native and non-native cultures. C1 and C2, intercultural mediator, effective bilingual communicator. short stories. The curriculum promotes self-discovery, appreciation of beauty and the setting priorities. Teachers guide students through cultural transitions while maintaining spiritual continuity. Social economic crises attributed to spiritual and moral upbringing of young people. Pedagogical concepts focus on moral education, individual development, and the interpersonal relations. And then next, teaching a foreign languages with the help of short stories. Now I would like to tell about 4 benefits of using short stories for language teachers. First, short stories are practical as their length is long enough to cover entirely in 1-2 class sessions. And the second one, short stories are not completed for students to work with their own. And the third one, short stories have a variety of choice for different interests and tests. Finally, short stories can be used with all levels, beginners to advanced, uh, all ages, young learners to adults, and all classes. The When I work at a learning center, I use the book Essential English Words. In this book, there are a lot of short stories with vocabulary and exercises. And at the end of each unit, there was one short story related to new words. After that, there were multiple questions to improve understanding of new vocabulary. After reading the story, my students told me that it's really effective style to retell these short stories, and it is useful to them, and it improves their speaking skill, not only their speaking but also their reading skill. In conclusion, yeah. In conclusion, developments, communication, critical thinking, collaboration skill, integration of literature provides an authentic model of language use. Short stories as a suitable choice to enhance listening, speaking, reading, and the writing skills. Exploiting short stories for enhancing students' language skills. Taking cultural factors into account for effective teaching and learning. Fosters social cultural competence and promotes multicultural awareness. That's all.
Questions, please.
What is social cultural competence?
Social cultural competence, it is it used in Mansfield's and Kahar's short stories. It it helps to
Socio-cultural. What is society? What is it? Do you understand?
yeah.
Well, explain us, please. Do not translate.
Why you have investigated or compared short story of Catherine Mansfield and Abdullah Wahab? What is the aim?
In my research work, based on detailed studies and main features of presenting social life in Mansfield's and the Kahar short stories, uh, it is benefit to students.
It develops students' social culture.
Social cultural competence.
So what is social cultural competence? Two nations, two cultures, yes?
Yes.
So in short story, you are developing this competence. So this is the
Ability to understand their culture,
social
social.
life, yes?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you come across cross-culture short stories from Kahar and Katerina? Katerina мен Kahar'ın short story'larında birbirine maddiyatla bahsediyordu onun. Qanday neydi? Social life'lar, halsız. Sizin жұмысыңыз өзі social life, culture'a байланысты. Екі мәдениетті бір-біріне қарама-қарсы қандай short story'лар көрдіңіз? Екі неді бір-біріне ұқсас па? Social life, ұқсас па екен? Kahар'ın short story'larını, Екатеринаның short story'larını carry out investigation. Yes, we have compared through short stories. Have you come across culture in social life?
It's both
Social life of two cultures. For example, marriage in Uzbekistan is a kind of process where the parents of a girl or daughter or son, they meet with each other and they can make kind of a wedding. What about in their culture?
in their culture, all the same.
Not the same. Sadece bir fark var o yıkabilir.
Olmasa abi Uzbek pop getirirsin. Dünyanın nerede Uzbek pop? Nasıl sağladın?
Thank you.
The next undergraduate student is Butumbayeva Midwest. For qualification paper is about some ways of teaching English for different age learners. Scientific advisories and related to philological sciences. Digital academia.
Good afternoon, dear teachers and students. How is your day going? And my name is Butumbayeva Mirwert, and my scientific advisor is Butumbayeva Mirwert. Let me introduce my qualification work on this theme about some ways of teaching English language for the different age group learners. The aim and purpose of the qualification work is to point out what kind of activities and what kind of activities teachers should conduct during the class for the young learners and also adult learners. And also the objective of the study to suggest methods for the teachers who teach both young learners and adult learners. And to achieve this objective, there is a set of tasks like to conduct the curate materials and to suggest and to explore the materials and to explore different kinds of methods that I learned during my pedagogical practice. And the actuality of my qualification work is to suggest such a methods for the teachers that can be useful for learners. And nowadays, as you know, the technology and phones replacing place with the books and textbooks, and that's why I carried out the benefits of textbooks on my research work. And what kind of textbooks has advantages and what kind of advantages teaching in groups and what kind of disadvantages teaching in groups, and what kind of methods we can use for the young learners and adult learners. And methods of my investigation is theoretical analysis of literature, observation, and description. My qualification work consists of introduction to explore the background of my research work and 2 chapters with 3 subtopics, and also conclusion parts and with the references. The list of literatures that I used during my research work. As you can see, as you can heard, my topic, my theme is about some ways. Some methods, and that's why I came across with a bunch of methods for young learners, for adult learners. But that was really hard for me to pick 1 and 2 of them to explore, to investigate, and to suggest for the teachers. But I think I did some kind of effort to investigate such a method. And as you can see, there are 4 aspects, 4 skills of English language, and speaking, reading, writing, and listening. And in order to enhance for these 4 skills, we must teach students grammar. Because without the grammar, students can't improve their listening or nor their reading skill. That's why I suggest to teaching grammar for the adult learners, and it's just because for young learners, grammar is too much. Because young learners, they cannot bear to such kind of grammars like what is present perfect, what is present perfect continuous, and they cannot they compare or learn with teaching grammar for young learners. That would be impossible. And that's why for the young learners, I suggest to teach with play-based games like role plays or visualized materials, or giving posters for the young learners. And let me tell one thing that I mentioned on my research work. When we were in our pedagogical practice, and we were on the school number 12, and they were very experienced teachers, and we saw we conducted classes, and we examined such methods like goal-oriented and like what kind of changes we have nowadays in classes, in methods, and for young learners, I can say that in that school, for young learners, teachers conducted class like with giving visualizer materials, and it's like when we teach about fruits, the teacher gave them such all the fruits, like it's apple, here's apple, it's banana, here's banana, it's like this. Yeah, that would be the visualizer, and in that way, young learners learned the vocabularies easily. And back to my research work, in chapter 1, elements of teaching. As you can see, we have such various kinds of elements of teaching. It's like teaching adult learners and designing teaching environment. Let me tell you, designing how we can design teaching environment. It's like we should design classes. In classes, we shouldn't have hang lots of it's like posters or the unnecessary things, and how we tell and how we teach students, and the way of teachers teaching is really important for the learners. And if the teacher was confident, then the learner can can understand what they are learning, what the teacher is speaking, talking about, and in that way we can design teaching environment. And also teaching different age learners, as I mentioned before, we have lots of methods about it. And for the young learners, we can't use such methods with like sitting on the class or doing exercises after one exercise and after and also. And young
Is it
learners.
conclusion? Sorry.
No.
Is it conclusion?
No.
Please
Should I
finish.
move on to conclusion? Should I move on? Yeah. Okay. In conclusion part, I can tell you the role of classroom and view for learners, and language textbook solutions is all about teaching, all about ways of teaching English language for different age groups. That will be hard for the teachers. That will be challenging for the teachers when it comes to teach the different age learners. I mean, mixed age group learners, and that's why teachers should should explore more methods for for each group learners. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Questions, please.
Essential methods of teaching young learners.
Essential methods. Essential methods. We can take visualized methods. It's like giving real things. For example, teaching vocabulary. For example, when we teach, it's like outdoor activities. Then we can give the ball. Yeah, let's call it ball. Then here is ball. That will be easy to learn for young learners, because they cannot like, yeah, it's ball. They cannot learn by heart all the vocabularies by just looking at the screen or looking at the books. Yeah, real things like.
Su şöyle mi?
Evet, tamam, basmasın da.
Hayır, ne ki bak.
Öbürü kopyalısın, konuş.
Well, you said about teaching grammar to adults and youngsters like this?
Teaching grammar for adults and youngsters.
Teaching grammar to adults or teaching for adults? Which one is correct?
Two.
To?
Yes.
Yes, you are quite right. But in your theme, you have a mistake, you see? Okay. You said in your speech, in your presentation, teaching grammar to adults
Yes.
and teaching grammar to young learners.
No.
No?
No, I mentioned only for adult learners teaching grammar.
For adults.
Yes.
Well then, why you are talking about, why you gave the topic like different age learners?
Different age learners. I mean, different age learners can. For youngsters, we can teach without the grammar. I mean, some topics, some aspects of grammar, but not all the grammar structures. And English has a.
According to what principle you can do this? According to what principle you can select the material? You see?
I forgot this.
Sorry?
I forgot about this. What principle I base it on? What kind of principle I base it on that?
That is what you Any other questions?
Well, can you tell us some clear methods that can be used for young age learners and for adults?
Clear message. For
Maybe ways of teaching.
ways of. Let me tell you some ways of teaching for adult learners and for youngsters. As I mentioned before, for young learners, we can teach youngsters with a boring way, like learn by heart, and you have to memorize all the words and you have to memorize all the vocabularies. Instead, we can conduct role plays or giving, like as I mentioned, real things for youngsters. And for adult learners, we can't teach them without a grammar since they have to enter university. They have university exams. It's like, and that's why we must teach adult learners with grammar. And when it comes to teach grammar for adults, we can give them grammatical structures, and in the next lesson we can ask for the students, and students have to explain all the grammatical structures for the learners, for their friends. In that way they can be confident about their grammar and they can feel themselves as a teacher, and they can improve their speaking also at the same time. And instead of just memorizing all the structures, or instead of memorizing all the vocabularies or the doing exercises, we can teach our students, or we can prepare our students, learners, for being teacher. And as you know, teachers have more confidence than students, and in that way, students can decrease their fear of speaking in English. Is it clear? Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Next on the way student is Discussione Shakwaim for the way qualification work is about the role of classroom management and teaching process. Scientific advisor is candidate of pedagogical sciences, developing a metric number.
Good afternoon, dear members of the Station Commission, dear teachers and students. I'm Discussione Mashakloy from Group 426. And the topic of my qualification work is the role classroom management in teaching process. The actuality of this my work in the growing challenge of classroom management, which teachers progressively acquire through experience. However, it takes considerable to develop the skills, thus is crucial to explore effective methodologies to address and resolve the issues. Aim of my work is the comprehensive analysis of various classroom management strategies and examines relevant literature on enhancing learners' communicative competence. Subject of my work, the process of teaching English to intermediate level students or learners, and object of my work is the role classroom management uh, in teaching process and the developing learners' competence. Classroom management refers to actions as an instructor takes to create and maintain a learning environment that is conducive to successful management and successful instructions. These actions include decisions about structure, organization, course activities, and support students for behaviors by managing their expectations. And classroom teachers with many years of experience have contributed to understanding of what works and what doesn't work in managing years of experience in the classrooms that behavior for students. My dissertation represents some of the things that good classroom teachers to do, maintain an atmosphere that enhances learning. And having adopted the independence of our country, of course, Republic of Uzbekistan, entrusts the commitment of teaching foreign languages to scientist methodologies. Also, the degree of President of Uzbekistan about further improvement of teaching foreign languages was always support for specialties and the teachers in this sphere. Focusing on education system, language was always support for specialties and the teachers in this foreign languages puts many requirements and on language teaching. How to say our President Shavkat Miromonovich Mirziyoyev stressed on in order to absorb the depth of language we must excel the methodological manuals based on state national standards. Only then the youth of our country will be able directly to complete in all spheres of life. It should be mentioned that having clear explanation of all the language units and the equivalency in the subject, such as translation, is one of the actual tasks listed in national program of the Republic of Uzbekistan. It is of great essence to work out of the actual tasks listed in national program and the practical part of translations, enlightening both English and our mother tongue. Solution to translation problems can be seen in implementation of such research papers under related topics. And, in translation classes, students can be usually face difficulties in making correct words choice while messaging the very meaning from the source language SL and into the target languages. The management of students conduct evolved strategies and the techniques used by teachers to create a positive classroom environment. Enforce rules address disruptive behavior and promote student engagement and respectful interactions. It is essential for fostering a conducive learning environment. The goal of educators, parents, and the professional is to ensure the success of all students in school and life. To achieve this, a three-tiered model of behavioral support has been adopted, offering interventions at universal targets and intensive levels. This intervention aims to teach students the necessary skills for success. Unclear expectation and grading politics can lead to conflicts between students and teachers. To address these, teachers provide explicit instruction, clear policies, and fair grading schemas that accurately reflect student learning. Developing social cohesion, establishing rapport and a positive classroom climate is crucial in preventing conflicts. To foster social cohesion, introduction and the community building activity be implemented from the start of the class. Classroom management refers to the strategies and the techniques employed by teachers to create positive and productive learning environment for students. Classroom management goes beyond discipline. It includes by the first the classroom furniture arranged. Furniture arranged for interaction and the comfort. Discipline student work to encourage effort and the pride, fostering a sound, rich, and environment to stimulate thinking. Teacher moving around the classroom to work with students individually. This is the main point, I think, in the lesson. Using a respectful and warm tone of the voice, students welcoming and engaging with visitors, encouraging direct and thoughtful dialogue among students, and supporting automated individual tasks to nurture students' strengths. Nurture is the main important thing of students from the teachers and the parents. Strategies of assertive discipline aim to create a structured and a consistent classroom environment where students are aware of expectation and are motivated to behave appropriately. The fourth strategy of this we can say establish clear rules, devise 4 or 5 specific and easily understood rules for your classroom. For example, raise your hand to speak or respect others' personal space. And as the next strategy, we can add here determine negative consequences. Choose 3 to 6 escalating negative consequences for non-compliance with the rules. Determine positive consequences along with verbal praise, use tangible rewards for appropriate behavior. And then the next strategy is the contact meeting with students, explain the program, the need for rules, and the positive and the negative consequences. And I want to complete with elements. There are 5 elements in lessons which is used by cognitive approaches used successfully. Setting the set for students by explaining the focus and the direction of the lesson. And the next element is the bringing is very important in making the students see what they have learned in one lesson related to other aspects of their learning. And the next element is the mediation. Teachers need to be sure that the student understands the nature of the tasks and activities they have been allocated. And the metacognition. Here students are given opportunities to outline their thinking about the work they have been doing. And the last element is the action. The students work on the tasks and activities presented to them. Behavior management and the meeting discipline is clear control for every teacher. Students who demonstrated some of the above behaviors will have been before teaching anything else. It is essential for teachers to establish clear rules so students what they can expect from the class. These rules should be discussed with students. If needed, you can post them on a poster in the classroom or display them using visual aids like PowerPoint slides or whiteboards. This way, you are always sure that your entire class remembers what the expectations are throughout the course of the lesson. As a teacher, I propose treatments to make students' life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool or of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response to decide whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated and the students humanize or dehumanize. And as a teacher, we have enormous power in the classroom, but we must strive to use it to create a climate in which students are lazy so intimidated they never challenge us, nor become so inferior that they revolt. And in conclusion, I want to say what the teachers hold a significant power in the classroom as their personal approach and the daily mood shape the learning environment. they can either inspire and uplift students or humiliate and harm them. How teachers respond to conflicts and design their courses greatly influences the dynamics and outcomes of the classroom. And effective classroom management, including displaying the techniques essential for creating a conducive learning atmosphere. Thank you for your attention.
What is the correct pronunciation of the word technicus? What is the correct pronunciation?
Yes, here we should use the method of phonetics, but with numerous.
Pronunciation of the word techniques, techniques.
For the,
Technical dediğin sözünü aldılar, basamayınca da.
for this techniques, we can use the logopeds for young learners. Their phonetics is the best. Or for
Is your topic actual?
Yeah.
What's the actuality of your topic?
actuality,
Very actual decision.
actuality
What's
of
the
my
actuality of your topic?
actuality of my topic is the classroom management, progressively acquire experience.
Karakteristik, niye bu depoda ilalı konuşuyoruz?
Okay, second question. How to motivate the learning students in the classroom? Gelişecek studentleri de talay yarım saat var, classroom'da management etsek var. Unwilling works kimi olan gelişecek studentleri de talay, classroom'da management etmemiz. Anda yollar var.
I met these students like this. I work with them individual. I ask them what interests them. For example, one student interested for sport. I give the sport translation types, for example, sport types, and I teach them with methods with autolingual methods. The pictures and of course video programs help them when about the English. I met the students who is not interested about English, do not don't to learn about English, but for the activities and for the games and at the lesson, I give the not big, not more information, but for them it was interesting. And for the motivation, I say them if you in the future if you want to travel other countries, for example, you should learn the languages, not only English. It can be Korean or Turkish, but English in international language, and with English language you can speak sometimes.
You can say that lesson starter activities working with latecomers are also elements of well-managed lesson. Yes? 1 minute lesson.